So the story here is, after I got the Audio-Technica IM70 for about 2 weeks, that craving for higher audio quality kicked in again, and I wanted an upgrade. So I got myself the Sony XBA-A3 Psych. Gotcha, that's not the item we're reviewing today. No. 4 months after getting the Sony XBA-A3, once again I craved an upgrade. And I wanted this one to stick for a long time. And I was naturally the A2's bigger brother, the Sony XBA-A3. This thing was basically Sony's flagship IM before the XBA-Z5 came out. And boy, it looks like a freak, doesn't it? Well, we will see if this thing still holds up in 2021. Let's get into review of the Sony XBA-A3. So here's the box of the Sony XBA-A3. Yeah, if you've seen my Audio-Technica IM70 review, you can see why I say both Sony and Audio-Technica have similar packaging design. You get a white covered box with a picture of the IM in the front, some marketing blurbs, list of accessories and features in the back, lots of text and symbols and stuff on this packaging. So you slide the outer sleeve from the side and see this black inner box. Open it and you will see the Sony XBA-A3 presented in what I think is a piece of plastic insert covered with some linen to make it look cooler. And you take that out and the cable is inside this little compartment underneath. Putting all that aside, you have this biggest compartment, this one, which is the carrying case. Let's take that out. You know, this thing, it's proper quality, right? It's decently big, it's nice feeling. I think it's leather, probably. I really like this case. It's got like the little red Sony tag here. You open it up and you see 2 compartments on the side with this bit of Velcro over here. Yeah. Sony wanted you to tuck the XBA-A3 in this case in a very specific way, which I will show in the manual later. In one of these compartments, you're supposed to get this little shirt clip to use with the XBA-A3, but I lost it. And you should know how reliable it is if I lost it. This one is the one I poached from the XBA-A2 to show you. So here it looks like this. Don't use it because you'll lose it. And then you get this plastic cable wrap piece still in its packaging. Again, don't use it, it's janky. Of course, you've got your perfectly packed set of Sony hybrids. I'm not gonna unpack this because this looks so perfect. I like it. It comes in extra small, small, medium, and large sizes. The mediums are installed on the XBA-A3, so you just get these 3 sizes here. Those weren't the only ear tips you got though. Sony also included their foam-filled silicone ear tips. These were an update to the old version in the XBA-H series, but man, this was a bad update. Basically, the foam inside, it went from being foam to this like really thick and viscous material that it just was so rough and tough that it really didn't fit well in your ears. Maybe your ears will work with it, but mine didn't. But hey, they are extra tips for you to use. Oh yeah, and you get 2 cables with your XBA-A3 too. One that has the mic, and of course one that doesn't. We'll get to that later. Lastly, there's the manual with many illustrations for you to work with. Let me just flip this out. Yeah, it's a very big manual. So, as you can see, lots of illustrations about how you can remove the cable, remove the ear tips, remove the accessories and all that, and how to wear it. As well as a bunch of instructions in a bunch of languages. You know, it's this style of manual. Here, you can see how they want you to put the XBA-A3 in the case. They want you to put the cable in the one compartment, run that through the Velcro line, and put the XBA-A3 over here. It's nice in concept, but I mean, are you really gonna take the time to do this every time you put the XBA-A3 in and out of the case? I don't think so. So I don't know, depends, I guess. Yeah, I really enjoyed unboxing the XBA-A3 because it really felt like Sony handed you everything but the kitchen sink in terms of accessories. You've got normal Sony hybrids, foam-filled ones, a shirt clip, a cable wrap, a nice premium but over-engineered case, and an extra cable. So in terms of presentation and the amount of accessories, this thing is really good. The problem is these accessories feel like they don't work so well, despite being tailor-made for the XBA-A3 and the A-series in general. The shirt clip, like I said, is easy to lose, the cable wrap is gimmicky, the foam-filled tips are useless to my ears, the case is premium but overly complex, so we're left with useful things being the extra cable, which most likely Sony included in the price tag of the XBA-A3, and the standard Sony hybrid ear tips. So again, love the presentation and all the accessories, although their practicality is questionable. Because throughout my use of the A3, I basically just stuffed them in a cheap case and used the shirt clip for like a short time before losing it. The extra cable is useful though, because now that I've worn out one cable, I still have a new one to use. So the Sony cable is like the standard thing you got for a lot of Sony products at the time. It's this sort of flat wire with a bit of a ribbed texture, sort of red here and then black here. Looks very nice. And of course it was nice when it was new, but the thing is, as you can see on my mic'd up wire, when you use it over the years, it gets all kinds of twisted and crooked. Although since it was flat, it was actually very nice in terms of microphonics though. The sort of Y splitter and chin slider is made of plastic. It's got this XBA-A3 marking on here. It's made in Thailand apparently. It's made of plastic. It works, and it works alright. But as you can see over the years, this metal coated plastic of Sony, well, it starts to flake off and makes your thing look ugly. Be noted that with the micless version of the cable, you can slide the chin slider up closer, whereas with the mic'd up version, of course, the mic will impede it, as you can see. The jack part is fairly standard, just a bit of plastic or something with strain relief. But again, as you can see from the used cable, the jack part is very oxidized by this point. Top, you can see the sort of memory wire that they use for the XBA-A3. It's more comfortable, soft, and malleable than the thing on the IM70, but definitely more unwieldy. And well, at first it is memory wire, but as you can see, sort of over time, this memory wire, it doesn't really have memory anymore, and it's just loosely following a shape, sort of, but not really. And obviously, as you can see, it hooks up in a weird angle here. The connectors you can see here are MMCX, but it's Sony's proprietary MMCX. I think it has a groove here so that you lock the cable of the XBA-A3 in an exact angle that they put in the XBA-A3. It's a little stiff, but honestly it's more reliable than normal MMCX, and that's all I need basically. Of course, you can also see these red and silver rings as left and right indicators, of course. Right, there's no two ways about it. The Sony XBA-A3 was big and weird. Sony shoved a gigantic 16mm dynamic driver to this side, and of course there's these two BAs separated like here that fired into your ears, resulting in this like weird, awkward shape. You know, it's got large parts. The thing is, it's got large parts made of plastic but coated in this metal paint, which over the years, as you can see, has chipped off, and it makes this thing look just absolutely disgusting. But hey, at least the sound is fine still. But yeah, this coating, it will not age well over time, I don't think. So here is how to wear the XBA-A3. You take this, you loop the memory wire through your ears at this odd angle, and you shove the big chungus housing in. Oh, yeah, you definitely become the laughingstock of anyone seeing you wear this, but hey, you're the one listening to good music, so you win some, you lose some. Both the iBasso DX150 and the LG V20 have different strengths and weaknesses when paired with the XBA-A3. The LG V20, it brings up a bit of the treble for the A3, whilst with the DX150, I can hear a bit better detail retrieval, and it emphasizes the bass and soundstage aspect of the A3 a bit more. I wouldn't pick one source over another though, and I would use each depending on what type of music I'm listening to at that time. As for tips, back then the Sony hybrids that came with the XBA-A3 were really the best you could get, and if those foam-filled tips didn't work for you, it was either you go complete foam tips or nothing else. And because of the XBA-A3's weird shape, something like the Sony hybrids was about as comfortable as you could get it to fit your ears. But we are in 2021, and I'll be using what are basically improved Sony hybrids, which will be these final Type E ear tips. They look like Sony hybrids, but they are in medium small size, which fits my ear better. They have a slightly better feeling silicone and all that. It's very nice. I would recommend you get these final Type E ear tips if you plan on getting an XBA-A3. So the XBA-A3, it has your typical Sony house sound. It's a kind of dark signature with low-end emphasis and some treble energy on top to just balance it out. It's kind of a V shape, but the bass part of the V is more prevalent, I'd say. And yeah, so starting with the bass, right? Well, you've seen the freakish shape of the XBA-A3 and how it was done to sort of fit a 16mm dynamic driver in this IEM. You'd be rightfully pissed if this thing didn't dole out bass like nothing else. And fortunately, Sony pulled it off. The bass here hits with force and a powerful slam that you wouldn't think had come from an IEM. Nicely controlled, but no less authoritative and exhilarating. You want some rumble? Then the XBA-A3 will give you rumble that you can feel deeply in your loins. Something that is rarely done with earphones, right? And the bass presentation here, you know, if you can trust Sony to do something great, it's the bass. Its presentation is somewhat like the extra bass line of products, but much more refined. The texture of this bass is hard, but with a slightly dragged out decay for you to just revel in the music. And it's not slow at all. There's some bleed, but about as much as any other Sony tuned product is, so not that bad. It should be obvious that this thing plays incredibly well with EDM, rap, anything which warrants this bass performance. Okay, so here's the weak point with the XBA-A3. The mids. They don't particularly do anything egregious, but they definitely are somewhat recessed. A little dry, a little rough. There's a coarseness in the vocals that can show itself. Though again, since it's already the least prevalent part of the tuning, you probably won't have to pay much attention to it most of the time at least. Vocals have a distant position in the mix, which helps with adding the sense of space and to extend the soundstage, but it also makes it not as emotive as the stuff from Audio-Technica or Moondrop. As for the treble, well, like I said, what you'll be listening most to the XBA-A3 is that addictive bass. So the treble is just here so as to not turn the sound into being incredibly dark. That proprietary balanced armature that Sony installed is doing a good job though. At least as good as a job as it could have done at the level of tech at the time. It does the clarity part of the treble fine, but it does exhibit distortion, even at middling levels of volume. Again, it exists as a counterbalance to the bass and not the star of the show, is what I'll say. I would describe the soundstage of the XBA-A3 as holographic. I see this word get thrown around for a lot of other IEMs, but I think so far I've only heard the XBA-A3 to be deserving of the descriptor holographic. Maybe Sony EX1000 owners would say that that one's better, but I don't have that, so to me, the XBA-A3 is the best I've heard. It's probably the combination of like the drivers being far away from your ears, the less prevalent mids and treble, and you know, it sort of makes that feeling that you have a wider stage than usual. It also has a great technical performance, getting great imaging, detail retrieval, and resolution that still challenges hi-fi offerings of the modern day. The graininess is something I can't ignore though. It was more forgivable back then because really no one did it that much better, but nowadays the XBA-A3 is comparably much more prone to distortion and graininess of the mids and highs. So you've still got quite excellent technicalities and still one of the best soundstage performance in an IEM, with that caveat of distortion and grain. Pick your poison. So hardware wise, the XBA-A2 is similarly equipped as the A3, barring the gigantic 16mm dynamic driver, which was scaled down to an 11mm unit, if I remember correctly. Sony did compensate by tuning the bass of the A2 up a bit more, but I don't know, the 16mm driver of the A3, it hit different. Maybe it's just the pure amount of air such a big driver can move to your ears or something, but the A2 just doesn't cut it here. They tend to say that size doesn't matter, but I think it does here. Tuning wise, the A2 is like a more intensively tuned A3, whereas the A3's mids and highs are laid back to let the bass be the master of the show. The XBA-A2, it tunes the mids and highs up a bit more. It doesn't suffer from the whole vocals being distant thing as much as the A3, but it also stumbles in that it lost that feeling of space and perceived soundstage that the A3 has. It also made the mids hotter in some areas and makes it fatiguing to listen to sometimes. Another thing is that the A2 is sort of like this less refined version of the A3. You may like the way the A2 is tuned more in your first listen, but over time, I think you will like the XBA-A3 more. Why do you think I bought the A3 if I had the A2? Exactly that reason. I liked the A2 at first, but in the long term, I like the A3 more. The XBA-A3 is an IEM that represented the quintessential ethos of Sony in their audio department back in 2014. And sort of still their ethos to this day. Weird, monstrous designs that seemed almost not made for human consumption with the fit. But they did it. I like that they did it because the engineering and the performance came first. Comfort came second. If you can get through the fact that you will probably be laughed at wearing this thing, and you can get used to the fit, I still think the XBA-A3 is worth a shot, especially if you can get a used one for cheap and in good condition. Sony was able to make an IEM that for the most part withstood the test of time. still holding accolades such as one of the widest sound stages and holographic on an IEM you can get to this day. Truly, you know, and the bass performance from a dynamic driver at a size that you probably won't be able to find nowadays in an earphone. 16 millimeters, man. That was big, especially for an IEM. Alright, we've come to the end of another audio review. As usual, I will leave the links to the music I used in the description. Down there will also be the link to my Patreon, where you can support me if you want me to make more videos, if you want me to get just the funds to actually buy the audio gear to bring in to review. That's where you can support me. There's also going to be links to my website where you can find some old art projects, some more written reviews, and a different variety of ways to donate to me as well. Otherwise, you know, if you like the video, like it. If you want to see more of this, subscribe to me. If you have any questions or suggestions, please leave it in the comments. And thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next review. Bye-bye.